1959, and have been asked to say a little bit about the school and what it meant to me. And the school and its philosophy were, to me, quite different from the public way of education, in as much as it gave a holistic approach uh, to the human, rather than just concentrating on one area of the mind. Really today, a lot of those thoughts are being carried forward in the public education, where they today are having more emphasis on other areas than the mental development. And so having started a lot of years back in the school, and having had the not only the reading, writing, arithmetic types of things, but being able to have even gardening and planting things and watching them grow. Looking at the crafts, being able to do something with your hands was important to me. That specific aspect of being able to do things with my hands has enabled me to be able to take over a business my father started some 30 years ago, this being 1991. It enabled me to help in the production and the manufacture of coin-operated telescopes and binoculars. I only had the mental ability in which to design things without the practical knowledge that the organic school gave to me of how to put things together with ease, we probably wouldn't have been successful. Dad, of course, had the same education that I did, so we were able to take and make a business much easier, as it were, having the ability to use our hands along with our mental capabilities. The business itself was unique, and that, again, I ascribe to the philosophies of the school as not being afraid to attempt an idea or put it into application. Of course, my daddy gave me most of those thoughts too, as he was steeped in the philosophy of the school, having been raised pretty much by Mrs. Johnson himself, and carried over those ideas of education right into our practical way of living. It helped me too in another way. Early on in my life, I had some physical difficulties that manifested themselves in having epileptic seizures. And being able to be brought along with my peer group, it helped me grow in the psychological sense, or in the whole sense of a person, and not make me feel that I was something rather different, being held back because I had to miss a lot of school. I probably missed about 5 years of total education, and yet was able to come through academically as well as anyone else, and go on to college. And had I pursued a course, I could have gotten a degree without too much difficulty, even though I did miss some school. The small classes that we had gave so much individual education and attention to the student. And this was the reason that a person like myself, who had to miss quite a bit of school, could advance quickly. And there again, applying the principles of progressive education, in the sense that if a child does the very best that they possibly can under the circumstances in which they're given, then they're doing good. And of course, as you get into the high school part of it, the state of Alabama requires for a grade system to be given, but nevertheless the same type of approach is used throughout the school. And so consequently, a student who is given that much attention individually can advance very quickly, whereas someone who is in a large classroom environment is really in a grade school situation, or as it is today, they're being taught like you would in college education, where the teacher gets up and gives a discourse, and you better make your notes and come in and have it for the test. And so they are not able to progress as quickly. On the other side of the coin, a student who perhaps is not as well endowed to progress quickly, even emotionally and mentally or physically, is given a tremendous feeling of self-worth, and when they're giving their all to the environment in which they're being raised, it is the very best they can do. So consequently, why should they be jeopardized or said you're not as good as someone else? Because if that student is then taught that or told that, what do? They feel a lack of self-worth and withdraw into themselves and feel they're not as good as someone else, so consequently they feel this all their lives and are not productive people in the stream of things when they get into society. And but I'm talking about the philosophy of school and how it approached or helped me in life. And our little business that started with just a real gem of a thought of putting coin-operated telescopes on fishing piers and getting the dimes out of them has grown. The reason it's grown is because we've not been afraid. And we feel that hard work and honesty and with your natural native endowments, there's really the sky's the limit. Now, it's not certainly General Motors, I don't mean to imply that, but it's big in the sense that if you stand it with other businesses, other people in this business, it's very large. Of course, there are not many in this business. There are probably about 20 or 30 in the world that do what we do. But we're up there kicking and screaming with the top ones right now and doing things to the point that it is spread out all over the world. Something I like to think about, the sun never sets on a coin-operated telescope made right here in Fairhope. It's that spread out, and it's a very good product that we manufacture. We don't need to shrink back from anyone or anything. And there again, I attribute that to the philosophy that I was given early in life of being able to do my very best with what I was given and not be held back or made to be felt that I was something quite different. Even the kids around me didn't do that because, well, kids being kids will do that normally, but those that were in the organic tradition and philosophy understood. And so consequently it made me feel like a regular person and made me have the ability to go on with my native endowments and in this business that we're given opportunity to work into. And that's really all I can think of to say about it. It'd be wonderful for anyone else to have the ability to go to that type of educational facility. And would highly recommend anyone studying it and learning it and see what those principles are. Not just for the sake of going to that school here in Fairhope or anywhere else that may have that type of education, but to help teach other people that are in the educational fields about this, and so that they will look into it. It's a philosophy that has stood the test of time with many people. It's being taught in some universities now. But the more exposure we have to that, then the more good education we're going to be able to give to a holistic approach for all of the kids that are coming up.
Geoffrey, may I ask you this? Would you say in this interview a little bit about the museum that's been established and what can be gotten there in the museum in the way of a philosophy?
Yes, that being established just this year, actually the opening is about to happen or has happened, is stocked full of information, of books, and there are plenty of videotapes of graduates like myself that have gone back to the first graduating class, I believe, that talk about the educational philosophies. And it's not a museum in the sense that it's a dusty old thing, come in and look at it. It's an educational institution in itself that is promulgating the thoughts and ideas that you have, you and the other group that have established this, and is housed in a historic building too, the Bell Building, which has been restored. And now I can hear the bell again.
Well, thank you. I think that he made the kind of remarks that we want to record and offer as a video tape for sale, and also to come into the museum and show it there for the educators that are coming in, and even for parents and teachers, so that this philosophy is not lost, which was, of course, Marietta Johnson's philosophy.
Okay. Now can I say my